We'll get going. It's about 3 minutes after 7, so there might be people joining us who are a bit late, but we'll get going. Is that all right with you, Sangeeta?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to the first online event of 2021 and the 5th in our series of talks hosted by the Compassionate Friends in the UK. My name is Carolyn Bryce and I'm the Chief Executive of the Compassionate Friends UK. And it's wonderful to see so many of you with us in the Zoom room. And also, can I extend a warm welcome to the many others who may be watching the live stream of this event through our charity's public Facebook page. So hello, everyone. So these online events have been running since summer last year, and they've all offered us a wonderful opportunity to listen to inspiring speakers who are themselves bereaved parents or siblings and hear their personal perspective and reflections on loss and grief. Our hope for all these online events is that you will have and will also find something in what our speakers say that resonates with you and gives you a glimpse or more, we hope, of light and hope in what can sometimes feel like a blanket of darkness. I also hope the events help you to know that you are not alone. Just some small items of housekeeping before we continue with our evening. Firstly, I want to let you know that we're recording this event so that those who weren't able to be here can listen at a later date. And your presence here, as usual, indicates that you consent to this recording. Everyone has been muted as we've got 130 people joining us. So we ask you, please, that if you wish to respond and comment during Sangeeta's talk, then please use the chat function. And depending on the device you're using, you can usually find that at the bottom of your screen, near to participants. After Sangeeta has spoken, we will invite questions, comments, feedback, which we will also ask you to put into the chat, if that's all right. And we plan to finish our time together by around 8:15 p.m. tonight. So thank you to everyone who registered to attend and to those who were able to offer us a voluntary donation when you booked. We're really grateful, particularly at this time when many charities are struggling for funds. Your support means an immense amount to us. Your donations and support are absolutely critical in helping us to continue to offer our unique peer-to-peer support, understanding, and above all, hope, as we navigate our way through our loss and grief together. So now I'm absolutely delighted and thrilled to be able to welcome Sangeeta Mahajan as our guest speaker this evening. Sangeeta, as many of you know, is mother to gorgeous Sagar, who died aged 20, 6 years ago. She's a mental health activist, an advocate and educator, and a trustee of the National Charity for Prevention of Young Suicide, Papyrus. Aside from individually supporting parents and young people, she's been a keynote speaker at various national and international conferences, and she also works as a consultant anaesthetist at a major London hospital. Sangeeta, as many of you know, has also spoken at retreats and weekend events run by the Compassionate Friends. Her words are always wise, moving, inspirational, and hugely hopeful for anyone who has suffered deep loss. Her talk, Finding Meaning After Loss, was the first online event hosted by the Compassionate Friends in the balmy days of August, if you remember, last year. And that talk can still be viewed and listened to on the TCF website and also on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Sangeeta, for taking the time once again to be with us today. And we're really looking forward to finding out more about your intriguing title, My Champion Me.
Thank you. So, I am absolutely honored and delighted to be here again. And thank you for inviting me. So without further ado, I'm just going to get started with the conversation. Six years ago, after a very brief illness, my son Sagar suddenly passed away. I didn't expect it to happen. I didn't know how to make sense of it. All I could think was that it was my fault somehow. He died by suicide. I, being his mother and a doctor and his prime carer, had failed miserably in all my roles. All the roles that I identified with had I had not shown up. I had failed. It was very personal. It was about me. Every decision that I had ever taken, I'm sure some of you are familiar. Every decision, the decision to move to this country, the decision to send him to a particular school, the decision to live my life in a particular way, everything about it was put under shadow. And I could not be left alone for 1 minute because I needed other people to dilute the constant inner critique that kept telling me that, this was just horrible and I was responsible directly. Like there was absolutely no doubt in my mind. And this, I think, is a common theme. And while I had lots and lots of people supporting me, I was still, in some ways, failing because I couldn't even utilize their support properly because I was not able to actually support myself. And Rumi has said that it's your road. Others may walk it with you, but no one can walk it for you. You still get up in the morning with your own thoughts. You still go to bed not being able to go to sleep, and the whole world is asleep and you're awake, and 3 o'clock you wake up in the morning and wondering what happened. And so ultimately, slowly, I came to realize that I have to be able to support myself. And that's when I started getting individual therapy, group therapy, reflective writing. I meditated, I went to silence retreats, I did everything I could to be able to support myself because in some way I was letting down all these lovely people who were trying to support me as well because I was not coping very well at all. And after all of that time and all of those additional supports, finally I could turn to myself with some softness. That brick wall that I hit every time I looked at myself slowly started to dissolve and soften and loosen itself. So, the objective of this talk is to really introduce ourselves to the principles and practice of self-compassion. The practice comes with practice because it is a skill. It is a practical skill. And the more you do them, and we will do one practice today, the more you practice it, the better you'll get at it. Sorry. Yeah. So we are the compassionate friends, right? We know all about compassion. Yeah. So research has shown that, 8 out of 10 people have more compassion towards others than towards themselves. But that's our society, right? We are encouraged to have compassion for other people. It's a good thing. 1.5 people have equal compassion for themselves and others. And only half a person has more compassion for themselves than for others. And that's because often compassion for oneself is interpreted as indulgent, as lazy, as narcissistic. There are negative connotations to having compassion for oneself. But what compassion is sensitivity to the feelings of others and trying to alleviate it. So just sensitivity is not enough. Also doing something. So compassion could be an act of courage because it means that you act on that feeling that you have for somebody or yourself. So let's see. Let me put a scenario to you. So last autumn, we were to go to India, and we had all, solid amount of cash on the table, our passports, laptops. We were getting organized to go, but we also had a vet's appointment. And our cat is a bit of a wild thing. So it takes two of us to get him into the cage and take him to the vet and bring him back. So we got him into the cage with great difficulty. And we came back and we saw that our house, about an hour later, that our door was wide open, our front door. And the walk from the front door to the kitchen table was a long one, because it was like, oh my God, everything is just lying there for someone to come in and take. And of course, we went to the kitchen table and everything was gone. So if you were my neighbor, what might you say to me? Just put it in the chat box. Carolyn is fielding the answers for me. So if you were my neighbor and I told you I lost £1,000, both the laptops and both the passports are gone, what would you say?
Can you see that, Sangeeta? I'm so sorry. Can I help? I'm so sorry to hear. Oh my goodness, poor you. Breathe. What can I do to help? I'm so sorry that happened.
Lovely. Thank you very much. So if you were in my position, what would you say to yourself? If you were the one who lost the passport and the money, left the door open, didn't realize you'd done it, you came back and everything was gone, what would you say to yourself?
I'm furious with myself. What an idiot. Why did I leave everything out? Can't believe how stupid I am. A lot of idiots. I'm so careless. I'm absent-minded. Yeah, all those things.
Yeah. So you see, this is us. This is us. So it's just a little example to make us question, look at ourselves in the mirror and look, this is what we do. And it's part of our social conditioning. It's part of how we are brought up and what is expected of us, what we expect of ourselves. And there is an adage to say that, love your neighbor as thyself. But that's based on the assumption that we love ourselves, right? But very often we don't know how to. So that is what, and by the way, nothing got stolen. We came in and everything was there. So thank God for that. We were shocked because we live in South London. That doesn't happen in South London. But anyway, we were lucky. But it's just something to think about. So now I'd like to talk about arrows. Okay. So Lord Buddha once asked one of his students, if a person is struck by an arrow, is it painful? The student said, yes, it is. Then Lord Buddha asked, if a person is struck by a second arrow, is it even more painful? And the student said, yes, it is. So Lord Buddha explained, we can't always control the first arrow. However, the second arrow is our reaction to the first. And the second arrow comes with the possibility of choice. So does that make sense? So how we react to a particular situation can make our suffering worse. So what happened was beyond our control, right? The first arrow was beyond our control, no matter how much we hold ourselves responsible. But the second arrow, which tells us that they should have done something, I should have done something, somebody should have done something, I should have known, why didn't I keep myself more open? Why didn't I have better conversations? Da 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 da. All of them are second arrows. And we can, and they multiply, really compound our suffering. So the first thing is to recognize the second arrow. Recognize when you're doing it, because just the recognition itself can disempower that arrow. And the second thing is, when we recognize it, to drop it with kindness and say, today, I'm not going to use this arrow. I'm going to drop it. And to actively make that choice. So that nicely brings us to the 3 pillars of self-compassion. So the first pillar is self-kindness. The second is common humanity. And the third is mindfulness. And we'll go over these one by one. So self-kindness, or even self-love, actually. So what is our response when we see a 3-month baby crying? What do? We pick it up, hold it against our shoulder and say, make soft going noises and hold it close, warm, pat its back. So we mammals are designed to respond positively to gentle touch and soft words. And that is because these actions increase the release of oxytocin, which is calming and connecting. It increases the bond between mother and child, increases the release of endorphins, which reduce pain and reduces the secretion of stress hormones. So a gentle physical touch and a soft word of kindness, these are the chemical responses in the body to that. And we need to treat our hearts, which have been deeply, deeply damaged, with kindness, like a little baby, hold it with gentleness. And this is what we are doing right now. This is what we are doing, and this is what we are designed to do as mammals, to huddle, to provide comfort to each other, allowing our hurting hearts to be held with kindness and love. So Maya Angelou is one of my favorite writers, and she says, love heals. People say time heals, but time doesn't heal. You and I know that. It just goes round and round. What heals is love. Love heals and liberates. I use the word love, not meaning sentimentality, but a condition so strong that it may be that which holds the stars in their heavenly positions and that which causes the blood to flow orderly in our veins. So self-love is a really healthy, beautiful thing that we can practice, and we will in a minute. The loss of a child can put us in such a strange place that we develop certain beliefs that we don't question. We put our narrative on we don't do it consciously. This is what happens, that a narrative is put on the occurrence because it seems so unnatural and traumatic that a narrative is attached to it, and which disconnects us from the rest of humanity. We are cut off from our life before. It is sort of cleaved in the middle as before and after. And the whole world has changed from before and after. Everything changes, and our beliefs change about other people and ourselves. And sometimes we can find ourselves inside a little box, and we have the key to that box, but we don't know how to open it. And sometimes we don't think we deserve to be outside that box. We believe that we deserve to be locked inside in that dark box. And no one can make us believe otherwise. We cannot reach other people and they can't reach us. And that goes against the principle of a common humanity. We forget that all humans suffer. We are all in this together. To a lesser or a greater degree, there is suffering in this world. Our minds play games with us, you know. They can compound our troubles because they cling to the negative. You know, our minds have a short memory for grace and a long memory for trouble. And while the mind is a brilliant organ, but it can create a lot of distress for us. It swings between the past and the future, hardly ever staying in this moment and experience the expansiveness of this moment. Everyone suffers. There is no such thing as a perfect life or a perfect relationship. And our suffering, each one of us here, our suffering is unique. But we are all in this together, even those who are not in this group, even those who have not lost a child, they have their own suffering. Everyone has their own suffering. There is no need for us to feel so separate from the rest of the world. That is part of compassion, self-compassion, knowing that we are a part of a greater humanity. And we are connected through our hearts, you know, and nobody is going to escape it. In many ways, our mind does not serve our heart. It does its own thing, causing more and more pain to the heart because it's constantly judging. What is self-criticism? Is judgment. Criticism of others is judgment. Putting ourselves in a separate category is judgment. Lack of belonging, lack of connection, and that is painful. So just a little example from my life. Like, I apologize to the men in the group because this is a very feminine example. So, you know, before Sagar passed, I used to change my earrings almost every day. I had silver earrings in all colors and I'd match it with my outfit, change my ear. And after he passed, 2.5 years or 3 years, I just wore boring gold, like very traditional gold earrings. And I just didn't change them. I did not change my earrings for 2.5 years because I just, whatever, it was partly grief and partly I just said, you know what, I don't even deserve to wear nice earrings. Just, I don't care anymore. And then one day, something in my heart opened a little bit. And I said, okay, you know, maybe I should see what I have and maybe change my earrings. And that was my first 2.5, 3 years later, was my first permission to myself to actually give in a little bit and say, okay, you can do this, you know, you want to really, come on, you want to do it, you know, he would have liked that, do it. So actually connecting with our hearts with gentleness and saying, it's all right, I can do this. So the task here is not to seek love. There is lots of love, but to find the barriers within ourselves that we have built against it. The barriers against love of others and the love of ourselves. So what is mindfulness? I'm sure you've heard a lot about it. This is the third pillar that we talked about. So the first pillar was self-kindness. The second one was common humanity. And the third pillar is mindfulness. What does it do? So what mindfulness does is it gives us the ability to slow down. When we slow down, our parasympathetic system comes into activation, which is the opposite of the stress response. So it's the anti-stress system comes into play. When we slow down, we feel more connected with ourselves and with others. When we slow down, we can be in the present, not in the past or the future. We can be in the here and now and connect with what is present now in our life, right now, which is immense because that is the only thing that is available to us. The past is gone, it's not available anymore. And the future is yet to come. So that is not available either. The only place where we can live fully is the here and now. And that's what mindfulness makes available to us. It allows us to be with our painful feelings as they are, without wanting to change anything, without judging anything. So it is actually being present even to our pain in a non judgmental way, not running away from anything, not running towards anything, just stepping outside of ourselves and observing what's going on. It's a very long definition of mindfulness, but I hope it makes some sense anyway. So, sitting with yourself is a radical act of love. Allowing yourself to just sit calmly, just observing your breathing is a radical act of love. So I'm going to invite you to join me in this exercise. It's not really an exercise, it's really doing nothing. It's sitting with yourself, really. And I will just gently guide you. So if you sit comfortably, take a comfortable position on a chair or a cushion. We'll sit for about 7 minutes, maybe 7 or 8 minutes. Take a deep breath and remove all the tensions from your day. Nice big deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. And you can slowly return your breath to normal. Just breathe normally. Notice your breath enter your nostrils, expanding your chest and reaching right down into your tummy. And coming back out the same way. Notice where you feel it the most. Let your center be calm. If your mind wanders, that's fine. Bring it back to your breath. Breathe normally. Call to mind an image of someone who has supported you, a person you feel safe with, someone you love. Imagine them sitting across from you. Silently say their name with a soft voice and a soft tone to your face. May you find peace. May you be happy. Call to mind an image of yourself as a 5-year-old, breathing in, look into their eyes, breathing out, smile. Say their name and repeat. May you be peaceful. May you be happy. Observe the resistance to this process in your mind. Breathing in, look at it in its eyes, and breathing out, smile. And repeat to it. May you be peaceful. May you be happy. Whatever you are struggling with, bring it to mind. This is really hard right now. This is a moment of suffering. Suffering is a part of life. It's not abnormal to feel this way. May I be kind to myself in this moment. Put your hand on your heart. Feel the warmth of your fingers. Let feelings of care stream through your fingers as you would a friend. I'm here for you. I care about you. I'm so sorry you're hurting. May you be well and happy and free from suffering. Now slowly let go of the practice. Allow things to be just as they are. Allow yourself to be just as you are. Whenever you're ready, you may open your eyes. So this is a short self-compassion meditation that we just done. We don't have to call it meditation if it bothers you. It's just, I don't call it anything. I just call it sitting. Just sitting, slowing down is what we did. Thank you. So I'm sure you're familiar with this image of yin and yang. So there's two sides to compassion. So one is being with ourselves in a comforting, soothing, and validating way. And the other is being out in the world. You probably know many parents who've lost children by suicide are big activists in suicide prevention. They do lots of fundraising, awareness raising, myth busting, breaking the stigma. And that is also compassion. that is also an act of compassion, because you feel for the people who might be in the same position now as you were, when your child was ill. And you know the difference you can make by putting a few changes in place, and to actually really go out and fight for those changes. That is also compassion. So there's tender compassion and there's fierce compassion. So at the beginning of the century, this topic was hardly talked about, but now there are tens of thousands of studies. Even 10 years ago, there were only 80 studies, but now there are at least 10,000 studies in self-compassion. So it is a growing conversation, and this is a real invitation to you to join this conversation. I'm very lucky where I sit by my window. There is a tree, and I sort of have developed a friendship with it over time because I spend so much time at my desk now. And actually, I see it just standing there, so strong. The seasons change, and there's snow, and the ground is rotten, and there are children, and there's litter, and there are dogs, and all kinds of things going on around it. And it just stands there, firmly rooted in the ground. Right now, it has no leaves on it. It's completely bare, but it's okay. It's there. And on the outside, it looks like a lone thing, but actually underneath, trees have huge root systems that are connected. They talk to each other, they warn each other of hazards, they nourish each other, they communicate in beautiful ways through mycelium and fungi and chemicals. And there's a mysterious thing going on under the ground where they're all connected. And we're a bit like this. You might feel that you are alone, but actually we are all connected. So going back to the topic of this conversation, it was my champion me. So what is a champion? A champion is someone who vigorously supports a person or a cause, or both. So I really invite you to embrace these basic principles of self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness, to develop a loving, connected presence and be your own friend, your own cheerleader, and your own champion in the best way you can. And of course, this is a very general conversation, and it's very hard to actually design a talk that is appropriate to each person for the stage at which they are at. But I hope there'll be one thing from this talk that you would find useful and take away with you. So I've learned a lot from Kirsten Neff and Professor Paul Gilbert and Thich Nhat Hanh. Big fan of all three of them that have done a lot of work in self-compassion. And last of all, I would reiterate that if your compassion does not include yourself, it is not complete. So please embrace yourselves with your own compassion. You deserve it. Much more. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. That was just very, very moving and incredibly helpful, actually. Would anyone like to ask Sangeeta any questions or comment, give feedback? And I'll share that with her. If you can do that in the chat, that's probably the best way, if that's okay. So thank yous. Such a great analogy with the roots of trees. I love that picture, the way that we're connected and speaking to each other.
Yes, I can share all the slides. I'll give them to you.
Wonderful. And this will also be recorded as well, so you can view it again. Claire says, I found thinking about my 5-year-old self very emotional, knowing what she has to come and cope with. Scott asked whether you could share the references again.
Yes,
We'll
sure.
maybe share the slides.
Definitely.
Jane asked, what has helped, wonderful word, Sangeeta, what has helped you most in your grief? The question for Sangeeta.
So I would say two things, one person and one activity. So the person who has helped me most is my husband, Simon. He, for a man, he's very good. What I mean is, you know, he doesn't feel the need to jump in and do something and solve the problem. You know, he can actually just let me be, you know, let me cry, let me do whatever I need to do. You know, he just lets me, gives me the space, actually, creates the space and holds that space for me, because he knows this storm will pass. And of course it passes, you know, just to know that right now I need to hold this space, not do anything. I don't want him to do anything, you know, and he understands that. That's amazing. And the activity that's helped me most is actually connecting with other bereaved parents and just people, even young people, you know, who somehow Sagar's friends, and, you know, connecting with people through growing these kind of conversations like we are having now, either through the written word. That's why I write my blog, Kids Are Gifts, and writing. I mean, reflective writing has been amazing. So I wrote that blog every day for the first 1,000 days. And that was because I was learning so much and processing so much, and to be able to put it down on paper. Writing, I would really recommend it, because it also gives you somewhere where you can deposit your pain. You know, you can leave it there and walk, you know, a little bit distance from it. So yeah, so writing and just being able to spend, you know, have Simon to hold my grief. And I really feel for mothers and fathers who grieve alone. I think it must be so difficult. I cannot imagine that. I couldn't have done it alone.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Lauren just says, I have felt so many of the horrid feelings of guilt and what ifs and what did I do wrong? And it hurts so much. So that really resonates with me. And I would say that as well. I think, you know, how you started off saying about feeling a failure. I think that is, yeah, really, from my talking with bereaved parents, it's a quite a common feeling, and kind of it's very hard to feel that you deserve to look after yourself and love yourself.
It is. And even now, you know, it's even now it's not there all the time. You know, it comes back, you know, it comes back, boom, boom, boom. But at least I hope that after this talk, you know, when you look in the mirror, you'll be able to see, you know, smile at yourself and say, may you be peaceful, may you be happy, you know, because actually we didn't do anything, you know, we think we did, but that's our mind, you know, it's a very clever thing. But it's like, you know, a chimpanzee doesn't stand in front of the mirror and say, oh gosh, I need to lose weight, right? But we have the awareness, and our awareness can make, it's the new brain that we have that can, that is the one that, you know, does discoveries and inventions, has fantastic imagination. But it's also the one that has emotional memory, that ruminates, you know, that goes in loops round and round and round. It's the same brain, you know. It's two sides of the same coin again. So it's that part that we need to harness. We need to get our mind to serve our hearts, you know.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Marie says, you are 6 years into your journey, knowing what you know so far, what would you advise someone 13 months in?
Get all the help you can get. You know, I have a therapist for the last many years, and thank God for her, you know, because they really help you understand it and actually look at yourself. And we as parents are also unfulfilled beings, you know, in many ways. It's not like when you're fully formed, then you become a parent, you know, and then you're the perfect parent. None of us are like that. We're all works in progress, right? So, I mean, I have learned so much since Sagar has passed. I was so ignorant before that. Really, I knew so little. I'm a doctor and all that, but you know, that's one thing. That was my, nice new brain. But my other new brain was ignorant, self-critical, very hardworking, hardly ever stayed in one place, massive to-do list, chasing my things to do the whole day, not actually sitting down and actually having enriching conversations or anything. So yeah, difficult, but just just it does get easier. You will speak to parents and you will always miss them. You will always love them and it'll always break your heart. But you will meet amazing people. You will have amazing learning and you will learn to hold the absolute treachery of life in one hand and the absolute wonder in another.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Jimmy asks, are you okay to take a few more questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Jimmy asks, did you know something about self-compassion before Saga died, or is this new learning for you?
It's completely new. I knew nothing about self-compassion. I think it should be taught in all schools. It should be taught to children. But schools teach competition, which is completely the opposite of self-compassion. And that is why I think so many children suffer, because they never feel enough. They never feel adequate. It's not okay. The rudest word now is average, right? Can't be average. Horrible to be average. That's the society that we have created. And medicine is a competitive thing. You can't be in medicine unless you're not competitive. So I think I was very much in that mold. And I knew absolutely nothing about self-compassion, not even theoretically. Sad to say. I wish somebody had, because you know what? We have self-sacrificing. My mother was so self-sacrificing, beautiful, gentle lady. But she looked after everybody else at her own cost, and I think for many of us, that is our role model, right? Our mothers, very sweet ladies, but they didn't have much self-compassion. So we don't have the best models, actually, role models of self-compassion in our society, because it gets mixed up with selfish, right? If mom goes off on a holiday alone with her girlfriends, she feels guilty because, oh, I'm being selfish, leaving my kids and going away with my girlfriends. And everybody else says, oh, you left your kids. So, we don't know the difference between self-compassion and selfish, narcissistic, no motivation and all. And actually, having more self-compassion gives you more motivation because it's coming from the right place. It's coming from a nourishing place. So you can be more motivated. There's a myth that if you have too much self-compassion, you won't be motivated. But it's the opposite, I find. The more self-compassion I have, I'm more motivated to influence change in the world, to make a difference.
There's a lot of questions, Sangeeta, about how to marry together the guilt and blame of ourselves with the self-care and self-love. How do you do that? It's not enough, is it, to just say it? You have to feel it. How do you feel it?
So, you know, the little practice we did, there are, I will share a few more meditations like that with you. But it's a hard one. But again, it's a matter of practice. You just have to keep practicing and knowing that your narrative is one version of the truth. You have to reframe it. You don't have to, of course, but you can reframe it. There are other ways of looking at what happened. Because that was not your intention, right? You were living your life the best you could for the person you were then. That what happened was not your intention. It happened. It was the first arrow that was shot at you without your consent. You did not shoot it. You did not ask for it to be shot. But it is a hard one, I understand. But I hope these practices, these 3 concepts that we talked about today, will help you.
Yes, Jackie said, I didn't like myself for such a long time. I didn't even recognize myself. I think I can relate to that. Didn't like who I was for many years. Nick asks, how often does Sangeeta think we should be thinking about self-compassion? All the time or occasionally?
I think you should definitely, the mindfulness you can practice all the time. Washing dishes, you can practice mindfulness. Walking, you can walk mindfully from one to, just it's about slowing down and being fully present in whatever you're doing. So, often we're doing one thing but thinking about something else, right? The mind's going off here and there. But if you're washing dishes and you're doing it like 100%, listening to somebody 100%, without letting your mind wander, being fully present in that moment, not thinking, what am I going to say next? Oh, do I like that? Do I not like that? Do I agree? Do I not agree? None of that. Listening, just like a mindful practice, 100%. And really being present to your own feelings, not running away from anything, being present to whatever is. Because if you keep running away, you'll just keep running away. There's 2 causes of suffering: getting something and getting rid of something. So we just stop. And whatever you're doing, slow it down and experience it fully. Experience the experience like an observer. I think it's a matter of practice, really. And you will find that the more aware you are, that it's about awareness, the more aware you are that, okay, this is an opportunity, like waiting for Simon, I do a lot of waiting these days. So I say, okay, I'm going to wait mindfully. Okay. I'm going to wait mindfully. So I'm not losing patience. I'm not doing anything. I'm waiting mindfully. That's what I'm doing. And that's an opportunity to look at the candle, the flame of the candle, and meditate on that. The candle is lit. I light a candle every evening in Sagar's memory. And I'm waiting for him for dinner. And I'm sitting there and the candle is there. So I can look at the flame of the candle and meditate on that. That is mindfulness. This is my opportunity. Look for opportunities. The more you look, the more you'll find them.
Well, what would you say, Sangeeta, to people who might say it's too painful to be in the now? Sometimes it can feel, too much, too overwhelming to be in that now place.
Yeah, it is painful. But I think what adds to the pain is a judgment that pain is bad. You're judging the pain as something that shouldn't be there. I shouldn't have this. Why do I have to go through this? Why is this happening to me? All of those shadows, that pain is not pure pain. It is burdened with other shadows. And when you look at it as an observer and say, so make it, if you think, okay, instead of thinking, I am in pain, change it to, there is pain in this world. And I am a human being experiencing this world's pain. So it's about making it about the common humanity. It's not personal. Not making it so personal, because it is a reality for so many people. There is so much suffering in the world. We know that, right? And we can't know what it's like for somebody else, but we are part of that common humanity. That could help. But staying with it, it's hard, I know, but it loses its bite, The more you stay with it, it loses its punch after some time. It loses its hold on you. There is no getting away from it.
No, I was going to ask, do you think we have to go through the pain?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we try to avoid it, don't we?
And that's natural too, that's natural too. It's nice to have some distractions, for one time, Netflix was a lifesaver. It was. You've just got to do what you've got to do, but recognizing that actually this is just avoidance. Yeah. And it has its place, but actually there is no fix. It's a process. It's an ongoing process, even for many of us who are bereaved many years. There are so many people. When I was first bereaved, I looked at somebody who was bereaved 10 years and I was like, you are still alive? That's amazing. I was amazed that somebody could live for 10 years. But now I've come to realize that actually what time is a series of moments. It's one moment after another. That is time, right? That's all it is. And if in every moment we can be fully present in the now without going into the past and the future, that's what we need to observe. The mind is very clever. It won't let you stay in the now. It'll take you quickly back or quickly forward. Oh, who'll look after me when I'm an old woman? Stupid question. So to see that, some of the conversations don't serve us, pointless conversations. They only add to the pain, and to drop them. I'm not going to indulge in that. Silly, Right now, I'm here, I'm talking to my favorite people. It's all good. We'll see. Everything is taken care of. And actually, that's the other thing that happens, is that you lose sort of faith in life a little bit. And to be able to trust life again and trust yourself again. It's a rebuilding process almost.
Just the last few questions or comments. Jimmy again. If you reach down for mental pain, deep down for mental pain, what do you think about experiencing physical pain? He says, I find cold water immersion, it's painful, useful as a way of getting in touch with a more truthful grief.
Whatever works, whatever. So I walked once 50 kilometers for charity. It nearly killed me, but it was also exhilarating. It's like, wow, we did it. And, I was in floods of tears at the end because I was also reminded why I was doing it. And, I slept for the next 2 days, but, you just got to do what calls you, There's a Jordan Peterson, I think everybody knows who he is. There's one chapter in his book called Pet a Cat When You See One. So every opportunity you get to experience something positive, even if it is, a bodily experience, just go for it, experience it, be open. Don't deny. When we put ourselves in that little box, we lock out the bad things because we are protecting ourselves and the good things, So the key, know that the key is in your hand and you can open it and try it sometime. A lot of it is about giving yourself permission with kindness, saying,
Thank you, Sangeeta.
Well, there's some questions about siblings. I think there's one question.
Yes, there were. Yeah. So a question about, did Sagar have any siblings?
So Sagar has a older sister. She's a foster sister, and she's in India. And she's doing fine. It's been very hard for her as well because she was in India when Sagar was ill, and I'm sure she was trying to support him from there. And I don't think any of us expected it. So huge shock for her. So she was here for a month after he passed, and then she went back. But we are in touch all the time and supporting each other. It is very hard for siblings also because I think almost their loss is multiplied because their parents change also. So while they lose a sibling, I know that I have changed so much. And I'm sure it's a double loss for her. For the first few years, I wasn't actually available emotionally to anybody. I was not available. And that's not good or bad, That's the other thing. Don't constantly judge everything, We are so designed to judge everything. Even when we are suffering, we are still judging ourselves, because it's such an automatic thing. And to really watch when you're judging people harshly and judging yourself harshly. Watch yourself and see how much suffering that causes. And that is the second arrow, that judgment, constant judgment, rather than just letting things be.
Claire says, I feel that my son has lost the parents he had. We are changed. That's so true.
But you can still be present for each other, in the nicest, kindest way. And actually, self-compassion, the thing about it is the more self-compassionate you are, you give permission to people around you to be self-compassionate. Because you set a role model for them. So you can set a very healthy precedence in your life. You say, okay, I have changed, but with whoever I am, I'm here for you, you know? So it's okay. The change is bound to happen. Don't judge it. Just say, this is who I am and I'm here, you know? That's it. But actually making yourself available whenever you're ready. Of course, you can't force it again. But even being aware, that's the fantastic thing about the mind is the awareness. And we can be aware of our awareness. Like, so I look in the mirror and I say, oh, I need to lose some weight, right? So who is aware? So that awareness of being aware is the fantastic thing about our minds. And that we don't use it enough because thinking and judging is easier. It's much easier to judge things than to actually be with them and work through them.
Were you able to talk to your foster daughter about your unavailability early on?
Yeah.
Did you have a conversation years later? Or
So immediately after we had a few conversations, really difficult ones, but not detailed ones, not in great detail. Somehow, I think it really makes a difference when you're physically not together, you know. I think if we were physically together in the same house, spending time together. So when I go to India, I always see her. But again, it's not the same as living, you know, just spending 2 weeks together, like all the time, and then actually just working through it together. But we've been writing long, long letters to each other by hand. And that's been very therapeutic, actually. No emails, no phone calls, handwritten letters. And that has been amazing, amazing thing to do. Yeah.
Just a final question, actually, about there's some comments about anger, letting go of the anger, and all the sort of many complex emotions we feel. But yes, anger being one of them, one of the ones that can be quite hard to manage. Do you have any kind of words about that and how you do it?
I don't really. I think being aware of it and being aware of how it feels, that this is how my body feels, this is how my breath changes when I'm angry, and actually being able to step back from it sometimes, give yourself a break and say, for the next half an hour, I'm going to step back from it. I'm going to set it aside. So when I went back to work initially, I had to do that with my grief, you know, because I had to work. It was like, and I was patient facing, you know, I was with patients, and I didn't want to sort of break down in a flood of tears in front of my patients. I mean, what would that do to their confidence? So I had to park my grief. I had to say, sweetheart, you wait, I'll come back, okay? I'll be back. And I used to go and do my thing and very professional and everything. And then say, okay, for the next 6 hours, I'm not available. Then go back to it. So, yeah, you almost have to be like two people in one, you know? So you have to be like, okay, I'm holding your hand, sweetheart. I'm holding your hand. Don't worry. I'm here for you. You know, it's almost like, okay, here. I'm here for you. It's almost like being two people in one. I felt like that in the beginning. And I think you have to almost personalize your feelings also and say, okay, Mr. Anger, I'm going to park you here for a bit, okay? Don't disturb me for the next 2 hours. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. we're going to have to leave it there now, Sangeeta, but I just want to say a huge thank you for sharing your pain with us, but also your wisdom, really. You speak from hard-won experience and so much truth, I think, depth of truth. And it's just been a pleasure, in fact, to listen to you.
Pleasure for me, thank you.
I do hope that some of Sangeeta's, well, I can see from the chat that her perspectives and her reflections about self-love and has resonated with you and given you permission, perhaps, to look after yourself and practice that self-kindness, the common humanity, the connectedness, and also the mindfulness that she mentions about living in the now. Thank you so much, Sangeeta, and thank you to you all as well for your fantastic questions and your hugely valuable contributions to our evening together. And we will share everything that's in the chat with Sangeeta, so she'll get your comments and thanks and questions and feedback.
And I will share the PowerPoint presentation with you if you want.
Okay, are you happy to share the slides?
Yes.
Yeah, so we can send those all out to you.
And the resources are in there. So.
Okay, great, fantastic. Thank you, Sangeeta.
Thank you.
It's been great. Just before everyone leaves, I just want to remind you to look out for our next online event, which will be on the 15th of March and be focused on Gina Clay's wonderful book, Upright with Knickers On. I don't know whether you know the book, but it's subtitled Surviving the Death of a Child. And in the book, Gina, who some of you may know, she's a bereaved mum of 2 children and a TCF trustee and volunteer. She shares with us through prose and through verse how she survived her losses. And the book also has lots of contributions from bereaved parents and siblings, talking about the ways that they have approached their grief and learnt to survive the loss of their child or sibling, and particularly how they found meaning and purpose and hope again. So our online event will feature several of the contributors to the book, and they'll be sharing with us the piece from the book that they've written and then reflecting upon how they feel now about what they wrote and whether their grief has stayed the same or has in some way changed. And at the event, we would be wanting to hear from you too, like tonight. What has helped you to get through, to survive and go on in a positive, meaningful way so that we can practice that connection.
In the meeting.
That Sangeeta mentioned. So we really hope to see you again on the 15th of March. And you'll be able to book or register for that event on our website by the end of this week. So thank you very much once again to the wonderful Sangeeta. And thank you to all of you for being with us this evening. And we hope to see you again very soon. Remember to keep connected with us. Come to our online support groups. We have a helpline you can ring. We have our Facebook groups. Come and share with us, and let's keep the connection going between us all. So hope to see you all very soon at another TCF event, and just be well and be safe.
Thank you, everyone.